116. The pen is mightier than the sword. We generally take the word mighty to mean very powerful in the physical sense. Thus, great military conquerors like Alexander, Genghis Khan, Napoleon are still regarded as among the mightiest men of old. The empires that Rome, Spain, and Great Britain built up were called mighty because of their vastness and great military power. Even in modern times, the United States of America and Russia are called the mightiest powers of the present days. And the sword or military strength is at the root of all this mightiness. Contrasted with this, the pen is a very humble instrument, not connected with any physical power. So to say that the pen is mightier than the sword may seem an absurd or impossible statement. Still, the proverb, like all other proverbs, states a very simple truth. Here, the words pen and sword stand for writer and soldiers respectively. The word mighty, also is used in a much wider sense to include moral and spiritual powers or influence. Page number 814. The proverb therefore means that writers and thinkers exercise a much greater influence, wider and more enduring, on men and the world than any military conqueror. Let us take the cases of the heroes named above. They were among the greatest generals of the past, but the empires they built up were limited to certain parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa, and even these limited empires passed away almost with their death. The empires of Greece and Rome have gone, but Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Homer, Virgil, Dante still rule the minds of men everywhere. The British is no more, but Shakespeare is immortal. Our own country too had many mighty emperors. They and their empires are all gone, but Valmiki, Kalidas sway our minds yet. Rabindranath's empire has been extending to distant corners of the earth. The great books, the Gita, the Bible, and the Quran were written long, long ago. Empires have come and empires have gone in the meantime, but the spiritual influence of these books have continued unabated through ages. In the military sense, too, writers sometimes exercise a greater and wider influence than great generals. Let us take writers like Rousseau, Voltaire, Karl Marx, Tolstoy, Gorky. Their writings inspire revolutions in France and Russia, and are influencing the thoughts and ideas of people in many other countries. Human civilization is passing through a crisis. There is a mad rush for deadly weapons to annihilate mankind. In times like these, men's only hope lies in firm faith in the truth of the proverb. The pen is mightier than the sword. It will make him give up ways of violence and take to ways of wisdom. 117. Man does not live by bread alone. The word bread is used here in the general sense of material food. The food we eat next to air and water. It is more important thing for life. A person may live without it for some time, but after that he will surely die if he does not get it. This is why man wants food so keenly. In fact, want of food is the principal cause of most of the crimes committed by men and the political revolutions recorded in history. But important as bread is, it is also not the only food man wants. It meets only his physical needs. But as a rational being, he requires food for other kinds of hunger. Hunger of the mind and the heart, hunger of the intellect and of the spirit. It is these hungers that distinguish him from the brute and have made him the lord of creation. It is these against that bind society together and have led to all the progress in civilization. Thus, family and society are based on the hunger of the mind and the heart for love and affection. A man may be very rich, yet he feels lonely and unhappy unless he has a family of his own to love and to be loved. We all know how a man and a woman yearns for children. We also know how love and affection enables a person to go without material food for days together and bear great physical suffering with a smiling face. Intellectual hunger has led mankind from more and more of the light of knowledge. It has produced the masterpieces of science, literature, and philosophy. It is at the root of lofty thoughts and ideas that has inspired mankind at all times. Indeed, ideals are more powerful than cannon, and a life without an ideal is as useless as a boat without a rudder. We know how ideals have inspired men to bear great sufferings, even to sacrifice their own lives, in all ages and all countries. The spiritual hunger is the basis of all religion. Man hankers after material comfort and enjoyments, but he soon realizes that they do not give real happiness of mind. So he hungers for something that will enable him to go through the joys and sorrows of life with cheerfulness of spirit and set him free from the bonds of life. And this he finds in religion. So we see that however important materials food may be in man's life, he has other interests also to inspire and guide him, to make his life worth living and to give him true happiness. Page number 118. 1815. 118. The ideal brain is the devil's workshop, or Saturn always finds some work for idle hands to do. The brain of man can never remain idle. Even when he is engaged in some physical labor, the brain is full of thoughts and ideals about how to do the work well. So, if it is not occupied with faithful thoughts, all sorts of mischievous and devilish ideas will crowd in to fill the vacancy, and this will turn him to an agent of the devil, not only to his own ruin, but also to a great harm to the society he belongs to. We find the truth of this in the lives of many of the unemployed men and so-called students around us. So long as a person is gainfully employed, his thoughts concern mainly his occupation, that is, how to do it well and thereby prosper in life and bring happiness to his family. But when a man is unemployed, the future seems dark and gloomy to him. Gradually despair fills his mind, and he falls an easy prey to the prompting of Saturn. He takes to wicked means to achieve what he cannot gain by fair means. We also see everywhere how public peace is disturbed by the mischievous activities of unemployed young men and of boys who are students only in name. This is why unemployment is regarded as a curse, and every state considers its removal to be one of its principal duties. And this is also the reason why our educational experts think so much about how our young men may be kept away from undesirable activities. To suit their varied interests and varied energies, academic curricula have been diversified. A wide variety of hobbies, excursion, cultural functions, social services works, etc. have been introduced to direct and guide their extracurricular activities along fruitful channels. But the success of these attempts depend a good deal on the young men themselves. Unless they become conscious of the evil effect of idleness, all attempts to save them from Saturn will go in vain. 119. Peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. Page number 1816. We generally honor a victorious general. The more countries he conquers, the greater the fame he wins. The names of Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon have become immortal because of their military conquests. But the victories they won were aggressive victories inspired by their lust for conquest. So, from the moral and spiritual points of view, there was nothing to be proud of in these victories. They were also military victories of a different kind, deciding very important issues and sometimes even the fate of nations for a long time to come. Waterloo decided the fate of Europe. Miltiades of Greece has become immortal in the history of his country by his great victory at Marathon against the Persians. There is real glory in all these victories because they were won against aggression. But there have been victories of a different kind altogether, nobler and more enduring than these military victories. They were victories against evils of darkness, ignorance, disease, injustice, etc., and were won by peaceful means. Just think of the difficulties that explorer like Columbus and scientists like Galileo, Zener, Pasteur, etc. had to overcome before they could make their glorious discoveries, resulting in the material, intellectual and physical well-being of the entire human race. Consider also the glory of religious teachers like Buddha and Christ, poets like Kalidasa and Shakespeare. They have conquered the minds of men all the world over, leading them from darkness and disquiet to the way of light and peace. The empires built by the military conquerors were limited in time and space. Even these limited empires melted away shortly after their death. But the heroes of peace will continue to rule the minds of men everywhere for all time to come. So their achievements are more glorious than those of the warriors. So long political independence could be won only through rivers of blood. It generally left behind a feeling of bitterness between the contending parties. But Mahatma Gandhi has shown how victory can be achieved by peaceful means, even in the political field, without leaving any ill feeling or on any side. 120. Value of time, or time and tide wait for none. Time is invaluable. It flows ceaselessly on without any consideration for the convenience of any man, however important or high-placed he may be. And time once gone is gone forever. Lost wealth may be regained by industry, lost knowledge by study, lost health by temperance and medicine, but lost time cannot be recovered by any means. Many do not realize this. They waste their time thinking that they would make up the loss in future, but the hope may be never realized. Every moment of our time has its particular duty. Putting off our works therefore means overburdening us, that is, making our tasks heavier and more difficult in future. This is why students who neglect their studies from day to day often fail in spite of very hard labor before the examination. They can neither acquire knowledge nor build up character and suffer all their life in consequence. Besides, who can say what this future will be, whether it will not be worse than the present? Some unforeseen obstacles may arise. We may be suddenly taken ill. There may be some family calamity. Financial difficulties may fall upon us, and then we shall find that the task has become much harder, if not too hard. Moreover, if we begin to put off things, we shall soon get into the habit of indolence and thus slowly bring about our own ruin. Want of punctuality is another way of wasting time. An unpunctual man cannot finish his own duties and incur the displeasures of others by wasting their time too. In the military field, delay by a few minutes may change the destiny of a nation. Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo because a marshal of his was a few minutes too late to come to his side, and Waterloo decided the fate of Europe for many years. If we look around, we see that the successful men everywhere are those who made proper use of every moment of their time. The most prosperous nations are those that don't waste any time. We also should take lessons from them, both for ourselves and for our nation. Page number 817. 121. Life is action, not contemplation. This is a remark of Goethe, the great German poet and thinker, that has almost passed into a proverb. The expression has two parts. The first part lays stress on the need of action for success in the world. Life is not a bed of roses. On the contrary, it is full of dangers and difficulties, trials and temptations, and man has to carry on a hard and constant fight against them. Any slackness in man has to carry on a hard Any slackness in this fight will upset the whole thing and bring about ruin. So man must work and work patiently and perseveringly. This duty of action is laid on man by the thinkers of all countries. The Hindu philosophy of Karma Yoga, attainment of the goal of life through karma or action, the command of the Bible that man must earn his bread by the sweat of his brow, lay stress on the importance of action. The word contemplation is generally used in the sense of deep and serious thought, but evidently that is not the meaning in which it is used here, for in that case the whole sentence would mean that deep and serious thought is harmful to man and should therefore be avoided by all means. This is contrary to faith and is against the teaching of all great men. Thought precedes action, and it is the duty of every person to think deeply and seriously before he undertakes anything. And deep and serious thought is in itself a form of action. In fact, it is this contemplation that led to the discovery of all the great truths that guide mankind. The word is used here in the sense of vague thoughts, empty dreams, so to say. The saying thus means that instead of wasting our time in empty dreams or endless thinking, we should begin work with firm determination if we are to succeed in life. There are men who think too much and cannot make up their minds or find time for action. Such men, however gifted, cannot achieve their objects. Shakespeare's Hamlet was a young prince of great intellectual powers. Still he could not carry out his purpose of avenging the murder of his father because he was constantly thinking of the propriety of the step and of questions like to be or not to be, unrelated to the purpose. So, for success in life, we should first think wisely and then act firmly and patiently. Once the object is fixed, we should not allow our aim to be swayed by every counterblast of suggestion or warning or by the difficulties that may come in the way. We must remember that too much thinking is another name of irresolution, and irresolution means inaction and stagnation. Page number 818. Exercise 5. School and college topic. First, the institution in which you read. Points: introduction, description of your school or college, the teaching staff and the students, the library, debating society, sports, conclusion. Second, your experience of school life. Points: introduction, heavy routine and examination, worries, pleasure of new learning, warm friendship, contact with teachers, conclusion. Third, life in a hostel. Point: introduction, advantage of living in a hostel, opportunities for developing body and mind, cooperative living, close friendship, advantages and disadvantages, conclusion. Fourth, present examination system. Point: introduction, defective and old system should be done away with, does not care for intensive study. The system cannot assess a student's merit, a necessary evil, conclusion. Journey and visit. First, visit to a circus. Introduction, the plan to visit it, the purchase of tickets, rush, the festival mood, description of the circus tent, the various feats, conclusion. Second, visit to a zoological garden. Introduction, the location of the zoological garden, the journey, the description of the garden, crowd, impression, a picnic, conclusion. Third, visit to a hill station. Introduction, preparation of the journey, description of the journey, the beauty spots of Darjeeling, Mall, Tiger Hill, weather, the natural beauty, conclusion. Personal topic. First, your likes and dislikes. Introduction, your personal outlook towards life and other things, reasons for such outlook, the influence of family background and friends. Conclusion. Second, your family. Introduction, your parents and your other members of the family, their occupation, harmony in your family, presence influence on the family, parents influence on the family, how you like them. Conclusion. Third, your favorite poet. Introduction, name of your poet, reasons of your choice, list of his work, the most famous poetry, characteristics of his poems, influence of his poetry on people. In conclusion. Page number 819. General. First, vernacular as the medium of instruction. Points. General opinion in favor, arguments justifying it, swifter understanding of ideas, speedier assimilation of them, argument against the theory, English in our country. Conclusion. Second, literary education versus scientific education. Points. Introduction, age-long controversy, what each means, place of the former, of the latter, liberalization of spirit, literature for the few, science for the many. Conclusion. Third, a village market. Points. Introduction, arrangement of shops, articles for sale, the characteristics of a village market. Conclusion. Fourth, the city park in the evening. Point. Introduction, need of park as open spaces in big cities for the use of the people, how they are used, scarcity of parks seen in the evening. Conclusion. Fifth, life in a large town. Points. Introduction, advantages, society of friends with tastes similar to one's own, amusements, theatres, cinema, sports, libraries, museums, transport facility, wider scope of employment, disadvantages, danger of health, dirty streets, smoke, noise, mechanical life, how cities can be improved. Sixth, an evening walk in the moonlight. Points. Introduction, a pleasant exercise in the cool of the day, the quiet evening, refreshing to mind and body after a day's work, the beauty of the sunset and the rising of the moon, the effect of beauty on mind. Conclusion. Seventh, walk through a busy street. Introduction, the crowd, the shops, traffic and transportation, noise, tiring. Conclusion. Present day youth unrest. Introduction, social, political, economic or psychological background, youth unrest, reflecting deep-rooted social causes, results of long privation or simply the normal revolt of the younger generation against the old, worldwide phenomenon. Conclusion. Ninth, street beggars. Introduction, can be seen everywhere, a social problem, why they beg, types of beggar, the harm they do, refusal to work, how to solve this problem. Conclusion. 10. Street hawkers. Introduction, various kinds of hawkers and the item they sell, difficulties created by them, their attitude, their method of attracting buyers, bargaining. Conclusion. 11th, a clear sky at night. Points. Introduction, beauty of the sky at night, the stars, the planets, moonshine, occasional floating clouds, source of inspiration, romantic. Conclusion. 12th, a memorable night. Points. Introduction, the incident, anxiety among the family members, your personal feeling, happy ending. Conclusion. 13th, the ticket counter in railway station. Points. Introduction, typical view of the booking counter, clerk's cubicle, the queue outside, timetable for up and down trains, the beggars around, occasional remark from the queue. Conclusion. 14th, a midnight adventure. Points. Introduction, missing the last bus after visiting a friend, walked back home, the adventure on the way, a thrilling experience. Conclusion. Page 820. 15th, a visit to a museum. Introduction, what a museum is, the occasion, the description of different halls, exhibition inside, other visitors, uses of such a museum, storehouse of information. Conclusion. 16th, a visit to an exhibition. Introduction, its character, the pavilion, the visitors, a big crowd, amusement, food stalls, your views. Conclusion. Calcutta Metro Railways. Introduction, why it is necessary in Calcutta, surface traffic congestion, underground railways of London, Paris, Moscow, Stockholm, ease out traffic problem, quicker communication, overall length, number of stations, the first of its kind in India, the benefit. Conclusion. The spirit of adventure. Introduction, the quest for unknown, root of human achievement and their value, heroism, patience, usefulness of its cultivation, spirit of adventure in modern India, Explorers Club, mountaineering, boating. Conclusion. 19. The Olympic game. Originated in Greece. Underlying purpose, spread of peace and goodwill. Revival, modern Olympic items, wider participation. An international movement of peace, friendship and understanding. Shadow of political influence. Conclusion. 20th. A film show. Introduction, plan to see, purchase of ticket, the newsreel, the picture, brief outline of story, direction, acting, music, impression. 21st. Visit to a historical place. Introduction, the plan, journey to Agra, Taj Mahal, Agra Fort, Diwane Khas, Diwane Am, the historical importance, Fatehpur Sikri, the deserted folk city of Akbar, other attractions, Sikandar Dayal Bagh, a unique experience. 22nd. Science and modern world. Introduction, in the earlier days, man was a plaything in the hands of nature. Modern medicine, modern industry, evil effects. Conclusion. 23rd. India today. Introduction, change and gradual development after independence, new industries, new method of cultivation, overall increase of production, spread of education, less mortality rate, community development project. An election day. Introduction, contest on party basis, propaganda, play cards, group meeting, hot discussions, excitement, result and conclusion. Is the world now a better place to live in than it has been a century ago? Introduction, condition of life a century ago, life as it is now, compare and contrast the two ages, the golden age is always the past. Conclusion. 26. The scene in a public park. Introduction, necessity of public park in a city, general scene, children playing, young people playing, older people relaxing, maintenance of park. Conclusion. Page number 821. 27. Shopping in a busy street. Introduction, the shop, the buyers, crowd, hawkers on the footpath, congestion, window shopping, prospective buyers, attitude of different shopkeepers and buyers. Conclusion. 28th. Advertisements, its uses and misuses. Points. Introduction, publicity, previously not need of any publicity and advertisement. Keen competition at present. Advertisement in newspapers, radios, TV, journalists, magazines, posters, cinema house, handbills, etc. Its appeal, it is an art. Misuse, deceives and cheats people, worthless good, vulgar pictures. Conclusion. 29th. An Indian bazaar. Points. Introduction, time of its holding, different commodities, shops, vendors, methods of attracting customers, bargaining. Conclusion. 30th. Your experience in a storm. Points. Introduction, how it started, nature was still and hush, sultry atmosphere followed by dark cloud, stormy wind, lightning, thunder, heavy rain, tossing of trees, picture of death and destruction, huts and cottage perished, relief work, experience, nature's power. Conclusion.